is the Salim MuWakkil Show on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. To stream online, just go to www.wvon.com. If you hear my voice right now, you have reached the place where we sift the news of the world and try our best to make some sense of it all. We're trying to stimulate conversation that is informative and entertaining, sometimes enlightening, and always respectful. And we can't do that without you. So, are you ready to flex the muscles in your mind? Because family, if it's 7 on Saturday, it's time for Salim. And y'all know what to do if you want to get in on this conversation. Just pick up the phone and give me a call at 773-591-1690. That is 591-1690. Well, it's good to be back with you on my Saturday show after a short journey to the East Coast for some family business. Also got a chance to check out the gleaming new spire on top of the World Trade Tower building that replaced those towers that were toppled 9/11. It was gleaming indeed, but it came across to me kind of as kind of an emotional gesture rather than an architectural hallmark. Like, you know, they had to put the spire on top of it in order for it to be the tallest building in the country. But it's a beautiful sight, let me say that, and it adds some ballast to the island of Manhattan, which is it was heavy in the middle with the Empire State and all of that. And by the way, let me thank Brother Mark Wallace for stepping in for me last week, ably stepping in. I didn't get a chance to tune in on iHeart Radio, but my folks tell me that Mark held it down quite well. Thank you. So thanks, Mark. Appreciate that. Well, the president has been through quite a week as his administration was hit with at least 3 so-called scandals, at least 3. I say more, but at least 3, all at the same time. As the time, as things progress, though, it seems pretty clear now that most of those scandals were really products of hype more than anything else, and a hype that was orchestrated very craftily by the conservative media, the right-wing media. And in one case, it was actually successfully siphoned from the right-wing media right into the corporate mainstream, right into ABC. The other stories, I think, gained some mainstream coverage because of the specific context. One was about the media itself, the AP, phone records being subpoenaed by the Justice Department. It was pretty shocking. That was the AP in which that happened, and so the media would quite naturally be attuned to that kind of offense, no doubt about it. But the other one was about the IRS, and of course the IRS is pretty universally disliked, and so that had some legs as well. The revenuers, those folks who have been perennial enemies of independent-minded Americans. So that story caught on there too. But essentially, those stories are not really didn't have much substance. The Benghazi story seems to be really a rather egregious example of how the right-wing media managed to siphon a totally tendentious narrative straight into the mainstream, as Rachel Maddow made clear on her show last night. Staffers for congressional for one congressional Republican, a House Republican, they collated a number of news reports, dispatches, and emails concerning the September 11th attack on the Benghazi. They call it an embassy or a consulate, but actually it was a compound, and that's part of the problem as well. But they framed these attacks in a way. They framed the way that these emails were released as a way that made it look bad for the White House. It made it look as if the White House was trying to gain political advantage by the way they manipulated. And then they shopped this collation, this tendentious collation, around to various media shops. And finally, ABC bit. This guy, George Call, who's an investigative reporter for ABC, he announced that he had discovered 12 versions of talking points that were, shuttled back and forth between the CIA, the State Department, and the White House. And all of those talking points were emphasizing differing aspects of the attack. But the way that the GOP staff has framed this series of emails, this series of talking points, was it seemed as if the White House was trying to limit political damage, and that would support the major allegations of these guys, these witch hunting guys like Darrell Issa, this Republican. But after examining these emails further, and the media did it pretty comprehensively, it seems that these emails were primarily a product of the CIA trying to cover up its back, trying to cover his ass actually in an embarrassing disclosure that the agency actually had a compound in that city, because there had been reports about a CIA operation in Benghazi, a black site even, that they were using it that way, and it was even involved in some collusion with Islamist forces to help oust Gaddafi, who was the enemy, avowed enemy of the Islamists, and some of the reports were that the CIA were colluding with these guys in order to oust Gaddafi, and so the revelation of a CIA compound in Benghazi would have been extremely embarrassing, not just for the Obama administration, but for the whole neocon project. Neocons want to destabilize all of those countries around there, all of the countries surrounding Israel. That's their goal. That's part of their goal, to destabilize those countries. And they did it with Libya. They're trying to do it with Egypt. In fact, they have done it with Egypt. Egypt is pretty destabilized, although it has a nominal government in there now, and even that government is leans toward the Islamist view. But now they're trying with Syria as well. They're urging the president to get involved to oust Assad out of Syria. They did it with Iraq. Iraq is beset with sectarian divisions right now. Of course, Iran is in their sights as well. They've done that. They've used cyber sabotage in Iran, and even assassinating some of the scientists, nuclear scientists. They've done all kinds of things trying to provoke Iran to be more pugnacious, but Iran hasn't bitten so far. But that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to destabilize all of these countries, and so it's embarrassing for the CIA to be to have been involved in Benghazi so deeply, and that's really one of the things that both the Obama administration is trying to cover up, and so are the neocons, his enemies, essentially, the ones who don't. So it's really ironic that you would have these guys pushing for that, and of course these are the same guys who are trying to push for some intervention in Syria, which would result in the same thing. The Salafi forces would become dominant because they are the most coherent in the region. Just like the Brotherhood won in Egypt, a similar kind of constellation of Islamist forces would probably be successful in Syria, which is a predominantly Sunni country, although it's led by a Shia sect, the Alawites. That's what Assad is. And if it was to fall, the sectarian tensions resulting from that fall would completely destabilize the region, as Iraq is threatening to do already. So, this is no scandal in the way that the neocons are trying to push it on the Obama administration, but it is a scandal in other ways, because the neocons they already argued that national security trumps all concerns for everything else, and it's even First Amendment protections, and that's when the other scandal comes into play with the AP, the Justice Department, seized about 2 months of AP phone records. And this was really a neocon move. This is something that they would do because they argue that national security trumps all of these concerns, or even even civil rights concerns. And those concerns are being trampled, by the drone killings, the kill list that President Obama has, and these extrajudicial killings by drones of even American citizens if they're deemed sufficiently threatening to this country. That's something that the neocons would probably be doing, and so it's really a strange thing. But that's where we are right now, and so the president, the Obama administration tried to find out who leaked this information about what's going on in Yemen. There was an operation that the CIA allegedly thwarted, and the AP reported on it, and because it involved intelligence agents from Britain, from the UK, and from Yemen. Those two nations were extremely upset that this information was revealed, and so the United States overreacted to that, and also they overreacted because the conservatives were pushing them at the same time, because the conservatives claimed that the Obama administration released the information in order to make it look good in foreign policy, in the realm of foreign policy. If they could thwart a potential terrorist attack, then that would make them look good. And the conservatives were saying they leaked it on purpose. And so the Obama administration had another motive for cracking down on this, and so they overreacted and subpoenaed all of these records from the AP. A lot of left-leaning folks who support Obama are saying that's all right. You can understand why they did it, but no, it's not all right, really, because there's always the government will always claim that national security is very important, and they have to safeguard it. It's the government's job to do that, but it's the press's job to reveal as much accurate information about the world as it can, because that will allow citizens of a so-called self-governing democracy to govern themselves effectively. We need accurate information. Without it, it's like we're blind. But the government's job is to safeguard information that it considers important for its own efficiency and, unfortunately, too often these days, its own security. And sometimes these two motives are mutually exclusive. They clash with each other, and that's why they're in two different lanes. That's why the press is sometimes called the fourth estate, because it's an independent branch of government from the judicial, the executive, and the legislative. Those three estates. This is the fourth estate, so it has its own lane. It's been protected, and it also has its own constitutional amendment, the First Amendment, even. That's how important it is, that First Amendment. And so the press has a very important lane, and when that lane gets intruded on by the government, that's a very, very big reason for concern. That scandal is a real one. It has justifications, but there always are justifications. The Bay of Pigs scandal had a justification, and so did the Tonkin resolution, the Pentagon Papers. All of those folks had justifiable reasons for being secretive, but we have a justifiable right to know what's going on. And that's what's happening here. And we shouldn't allow the Obama administration to escape just because they profess to be progressive. It has provoked, although, a more serious discussion of a reporter shield law, and that's a good thing, I suppose. And the IRS scandal is actually the least scandalous of them all. That is, unless you count the scandal that the largest 501c4s were left unscathed and unexamined by the IRS. It's understandable that they would take drastic measures when they were absolutely swamped by all of these applications after the Citizens United ruling by the Supreme Court, and all of these groups sought to get tax exempt status, and a lot of them did it maliciously. They did it, and obviously most of them hate the IRS. Who likes the IRS? But they have an ideological hatred, and so I don't think it's that much of a scandal. It is somewhat. You can't let the IRS be used for political purposes, and in this case, those two motives coincide: political purpose and hatred of the IRS. So in this case, it is. I guess egregious for them to have done that. Not at all politically astute for them to have done that, but you certainly can understand it in some ways. And the other scandal that is not mentioned that much is of course, naming Assata Shakur to the most wanted terrorist list. That's an absolute scandal there. There's no reason why someone accused of murder, and that was even a doubtful accusation at the time. Many scholars, legal scholars, said it was a trumped up charge, obviously trumped up. And if you look at the tenor of the times, you can see why it was trumped up. But nonetheless, the New Jersey Police Department, New Jersey troopers have, and its Governor Christie, because I think of the relationship he has with the president, they weighed in on the president to be more forthcoming and isolating and demonizing Sister Assata Shakur. That's a scandal, because there's no way she should be considered a terrorist. To put her on that list is not only scandalous in terms of its political import, but its racial import too. She's a black woman, the only black person, the only woman ever to be on this newly created list. And it connects the black liberation movement and international terrorism in a very, very unhealthy and distressing way. And in a way that is even more distressing, because that the president understands the danger of that connection. He is a student of the black movement. I know that. And so for him, and I think that he had to agree to this. Although, there's some discussion and debate on my Facebook page about whether the president and the attorney general had to actually sign off on this new designation on Assata or not. Could it have been done through the FBI without the permission and acknowledgement of AG Holder or President Obama? What do you think? Many people on my Facebook page say no way could it have happened. But some say it is possible. Statutorily, it's not necessary for them to have signed off on it. And maybe it was an action taken autonomously by the FBI because of some internal criteria they used. But that doesn't sound reasonable to me. But there is a debate about that. What do you think? And what do you think about these other issues? We have Brother Mr. Wells on, and I think he has something he wants to straighten out from the last time we spoke. And let's give Brother Wells that opportunity. Good afternoon, my brother. How are you doing?
I'm blessed, man. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Salim, you know what? Have you thought about doing stand-up comedy sometime? Huh?
Who hasn't thought about that, brother? Yes, sir.
Okay, I might pay. Look, Brother Salim, and to the listeners out there, checking in for Cincinnati. And I think I've explained this. I'm going to do this quickly here, and then you and I can have some dialogue. Look, Chicago and New York constitute 9 out of every 100 people who are African American in this country. We know that Chicago and New York are 2 and 1 when it comes to cities with the largest amount of African American population in urban centers above 100,000. Chicago's 2, New York is number 1. Mm-hmm. There is an inordinate amount of influence on, particularly with this administration, when there's been a critical review, and then we go like, well, who's in support of this? And we get a lot of the media out of Chicago. 50 years, you guys just did the anniversary. We know where you all stand. The people who work there, the hosts, everybody's been pro-Obama. New York has sharp.
That's not. Not all of the hosts. Some of the hosts have been pro.
Look, the last 2-3 months they've been pulling that. I've been listening to VON consistently for like the last 6 years, going on 2008, 4 to 5 years now. It's been consistent. we know where the support has been, even with the callers that call in. So not just the station ownership, Salim, even with the people there locally, there's a pro-over. I think it's only appropriate that other people that make up the black collective in this country of 35 to 40 million, whatever number you want to take in that range, to hold Chicago and New York accountable for local policy that may happen in you all's cities, New York and Chicago, that is used as a cookie-cutter template for the rest of the country, where people had to be victimized outside of Chicago, outside of New York. And then when people say, look, you ought to get on point with the pushback with Obama, then folks don't like hearing that in Chicago and New York, and the commentators don't like hearing that. Now, I'm an active...
Well, Mr. Well, are you saying that you don't hear adequate critique of President Obama on this station?
Look here, look, Salim, I respect you. I know,
but are you saying that? I just want to know if that's what you're saying.
Look, in the last 6 months, there's been a shift. I'm telling you, the first time around in the first 4 years, it never came out of Chicago. The numbers were very low. It was so pro-Obama. The people didn't want to look. Even here in Cincinnati, I took a beating on a station here that was connected to one of you all's billionaires in Chicago here locally. I'm banned from that station now, man, in Cincinnati.
But I mean, I don't think you should. I think you have to acknowledge, Mr. Well. I think you have to acknowledge, man, that there was a great deal of support for Obama in the black community because of the amazing symbolism of the first black president of the United States.
And I'm saying, and you all let that run amok. And I've talked about this information filter, and now I've been calling in for some time. Look, when I confronted Mr. Kelly a couple of weeks ago, that wasn't the first time. I know when I called in there several years ago after that Blagojevich thing went down about Obama, Kelly didn't like hearing it then. And I was going with some stuff that Obama, when he comes to Ohio, I'm about the way this guy was talking back as far back as 2006, and many of the activists, we are keeping the documents to show the people outside of New York, the people in New York, Chicago. Look, he comes to Ohio. This is his narrow-casted message. Read what he said in Cincinnati. Read what he did in Columbus.
Okay, but I'm trying to get your point, though. Your point is that there hasn't been sufficient critique of the president?
Oh, look here. Look. If I was to ask you right now, and I wanted to discuss some things clearly about this thing that happened with Dr. Bill. But look, if I was to ask you right now, if you told me you had done some legitimate research on where we're heading now with this thing about obesity and this whole thing about black folks don't know how to eat, we got food deserts, and then you go and hear about the Department of Agriculture cutting back on food stamps. See, if people, and I went through that argument here in Cincinnati, I proved the point. That the obesity argument was a Republican argument that Mike Huckabee started. Obama picked this up. Now we're seeing a scaling back in the food stamps and these so-called entitlement programs to make the Republic. It's hurting black people. This argument with this thing about black folks being more fat and being more obese than white people has been a friggin' myth. And Negroes ate it up. It was Mike Huckabee, a guy that ran for the presidential nomination with the Republicans, started this crap when he was a governor of Arkansas when they didn't want to pay out the day.
So your point is it was a myth that was propounded by Republicans, picked up by Democrats. Now, the purpose of it was for what? To cut out the agricultural department's food stamps allowance.
Yeah,
that was the purpose of it.
Yeah, look, they're cutting it down but that 9% cut is like $832 million.
Okay, and so they're doing that because of the obesity, because there's a myth about obesity at large.
The way that it's being communicated, yes. So that Michelle Obama is going around telling black people they don't know how to eat and they're fat.
That's not true.
Look here, look. No, Celine, she is doing it. She's been doing it.
But I mean, statistically, do you have statistics that can present alternate information about black people's level of obesity?
Look, I'm about to give it to you. I'm telling you.
Okay, go ahead. Let me hear it.
Look, this kind of stuff. The reason I'm holding Chicago accountable.
But let me hear about the obesity facts that you want.
Okay. Here's the thing. The data, and this is a new argument for people listening. The longest argument with the urban core and people. Go and read Dr. Ben Chavis's document, environmental discrimination. All right, you need to check up. The argument has been for the last 30, 40 years. And Ben Chavis made the argument and proved the point. It has been toxicity in the water,
environmental racism, man. That's an argument that changed the whole environmental justice movement. That's an argument that's been changed, but that has nothing to do with obesity, Brother Wells.
Wait a minute. The argument was made clear by Dr. Chavis. This is what the culture, this is what the condition is with the cancer rate. Wait a minute, let me finish.
No, I'm not gonna let you finish, man. It's my turn to talk now. So you saying toxicity is the reason that black people are obese?
No, you just made that connection.
No, what connection are you making?
Let me finish. What has happened the last 4 years, the Obama administration has tried to make this obesity problem have more latitude, longitude than the environmental discrimination piece that we know.
Okay, that I hear that. All right, but they're not mutually exclusive, are they?
Excuse me?
They're not mutually exclusive, are they? Can't one be pushed and the other push as well?
Most definitely not. Because the fact is, the one about the fatness and the obesity does not hold true, but the cancer rates do in the black community.
Oh, man.
Just like the AIDS rate holds true.
What you're doing, my brother, is you're choosing your own statistics
that
you want to emphasize. We are obese. We are inordinately obese as a people.
Let me tell you something.
Statistically, there's no doubt about that. Statistically, we are also subjected to environmental racism more so.
That's on paper. Celine, listen.
Why do you want to insist that there's some conflict in those statistics, man?
Let me tell you why. Because when you go and I want everybody to pay attention to this clearly.
Everybody always pays attention when they listen to WVON. You don't have to make that point. Go ahead.
Look, how is it that the SEC football players? I want people to digest this.
Okay, people are doing it, man. All right.
No. The SEC has been kicking butt over the Big Ten, the Pac-10. You never see a fat black football player from Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, North Carolina. Look, if you look at it, it does not hold true.
All right, my brother. All right. Okay, I thought you had something, but you're talking about. Okay, thank you, bro. All right, bro. Wells. And he called. He wanted to get this out, and I'm sure that all of you can bear witness that I allowed him the opportunity. I'm waiting for something. It's a point, and I'm still waiting. Let's go to Mike. Hey, man, how are you, sir?
Hey, Salim, how you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Good. Just quickly, I have something else I want to talk about just to follow up on your last call in regards to the statistics. Black folks don't gather statistics the last time I checked, and the people that do are historical liars, so their words are worthless. Now,
what are you saying now about obesity figures?
I'm saying whatever they gather in terms of statistics are questionable until such time as we can prove that they are factual, because they are historical liars.
Okay.
Period.
All right. So you say liars. I like the way you say liars. Very nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I wanted to just briefly speak on, you were there with Matt when we talked about the $52 initiative.
Yes, sir.
And he brought a guy in from the Southside Credit Union to talk about that, and there was somewhat of a decision made to open an account for these $52 to go into the Southside Credit Union.
Yes, sir. I think so.
Okay, and I'm opposed to that, and I'm going to tell you why.
You're opposed to it?
I'm opposed to it, yes, and I'm going to tell you why.
All right.
Because the Southside Credit Union allows anyone that lives on the South Side to become a member of their credit union. Is that correct?
I think so, yes, sir.
And as we know, all kinds of people live on the South Side, whites, blacks, Asians, etc. And the dollars that are put into that credit union can therefore be used for economic development for any of those groups. Is that correct?
As it stands now, I would suppose that they have kind of an equitable investment portfolio. I would assume so. But maybe in developing this account, there could be some restrictions placed on it. Some kind of
I don't think that legally they can say that we're not going to use these dollars to loan to white folks or Asians. I don't think they can say that legally. I think that would put them in jeopardy of losing their standing.
Interesting. Okay, maybe I think that would be a very important issue to straighten out before anything else is done on it. Because that's the whole point of it, really, is to provide a financial investment for African American institutions and emporiums. So if it couldn't do that, then it wouldn't be.
Sorry, go ahead. If
it couldn't do that, then it really wouldn't be serving the purpose that Brother Maurice wants it to serve.
Right, because while I'm not speaking for him, I think that his primary interest is for economic development in the black community.
That's right.
Period.
That's right.
And therefore, I wouldn't be interested in putting my dollars into anything that would provide support for any other racial group. Period.
Okay. All right. That's
have a good one.
All right. Thank you, man. That's an appropriate caveat because it is designed for specifically African American institutions, no doubt about it. So Mike makes a good point. And before anything is done, I think that kind of criteria should be explicitly laid out somewhere. I hear you, my brother. All right, let's go to David. Hey, David. Good evening. You're going to talk in Chicago. How you doing?
Hey, hello.
Hello.
Hold on. Hello?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Hey, I'm pretty good, Salim. How you doing?
Pretty good, man.
All right, brother. I listen to your show, and I appreciate your show a lot.
Thank you.
I called in one time before. I was talking about property that black people should be buying because it's so cheap.
Yes.
I bought a $13,000 two-flat in Chicago, South Side. The reason why I'm calling is, I would like to take part of the $52 situation you guys have going.
Yes, sir.
But I think we should get a little bit of structure to it. Get a company and incorporate it and shout partnership. Like stock.
Yes, sir.
All right. And we can. This is the bottom line. I think everything in life has a lot to do with finance.
Mm-hmm.
So as black people, a lot of black people don't do what it takes to get what they want.
Yes, sir.
Now, like I said, I will take part in it. I'll send my $52 or whatever we have to send in so we can get started and make some concrete steps.
As you point out, my brother, and as Mike pointed out as well, I would hold off on that until we get it much more solidified.
Yes,
Matt started the process talking to the brother from the credit union, and I think that was a very positive beginning. But we have to really, include all of these issues that are being raised before we can actually do anything. And when that's done, though, I think we'll be ready to go ahead and move on it.
Absolutely. I have a question for you, Salim.
Yes, sir.
Is it crazy that the city is tearing down buildings, houses, multi-units, and they could be repaired and they billing the homeowner $15,000? Is that funny?
It is crazy, brother. It is absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's crazy. If we had the wherewithal to make a serious argument against doing that and demonstrate our ability to rehabilitate many of these homes in a way that would make them sufficient and adequate for residency, then I think we could have a much stronger argument if we had that kind of wherewithal. But we really don't have it at this point. I was reading about this cat who wants to take the former Tiger Stadium in Detroit and transform it into an African American showcase, a museum, and a showcase for accomplishments, and that's a very good idea. But again, it's the question of being able to raise the revenue.
Yes, sir. Salim, I'm a licensed and insured general contractor.
Okay.
I know what material costs and I know what labor costs.
Yes, sir.
It's a lot of things that we can do if we make it. Put one foot in front of the other and go. Tommy, absolutely. I hear Tommy talk about go downtown. I'm willing to go downtown to make a difference. It's a lot of things we could do, and everybody is investing in our neighborhood except us.
You're right about that, brother.
And brother, I'm ready to do whatever I have to do, and I practice what I preach every single day. So I'm waiting for you guys to get everything together so I can take part of it too. Hey, man,
definitely need your support, man. A brother, strong brother like yourself. Thank you. Appreciate that, man.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, indeed. I mean, there's a pent up desire among a lot of cats who are tired of going around in circles and know what has to be done, and realize that the only reason that it hasn't been done really is that primarily we don't really trust each other, and that's the problem. Like, we want to know who's going to be in charge of this money and how is it going to be distributed. Will it be for black people and blah blah blah? And we have to make sure that all of that. I mean, whoever does something like this has to make sure that all of that is taken care of explicitly. And also, I saw that Minister Louis Farrakhan celebrated his 80th birthday. He's an octogenarian officially now. The brother is, amazingly so. I mean, an octogenarian who's really still the cat who all of the the hip hop artists and gang members call to squash beefs. He's the man who has that kind of respect that can do that. And I was just thinking that if we do get something, that needs trusting people to herald it or to shepherd it, I don't think there's anyone who is more universally trusted than Louis Farrakhan. There may be a lot of people who do not like him or think that he's a firebrand or something, but I don't think there are too many other folks who are as trustworthy as he is. I mean, who else could have, for example, pulled off the Million Man March? A variety of people from a variety of faiths and ideologies and belief systems and all of that decided that he was worthy, that his vision was something that was worthy. So, if at 80 years old, if we're going to do something, we need somebody who's universally trusted. If Farrakhan's not around, who would be a person who would have that kind of trust? What do you think? Let's go back to the phones. Larry, hey man, how are you?
Man, Brother Salim, look here, man. Now, look, you can have your own opinion about events,
yes,
but you can't have your own version of the facts about the events.
Now,
and Benghazi Gate is clearly, I don't care about no emails, okay? I could debate you about the emails all day long, but forget the emails.
Okay.
I got a video trail, boss. I got the top officials in the Obama administration, Susan Rice, Leon Panetta, under oath, mind you, Leon Panetta, Hillary Clinton, all of them lying.
But
lie.
Larry,
lie
come on,
Larry.
Larry.
Changing over and over again.
Larry, you know that these talking points were a product of a corporate process between the State Department, the CIA, and the White House, and they came up with something that all of them could agree on. That was the least offensive.
No, sir. No, sir. That's not true. They kept talking about the video that was offensive to the Muslims that caused a spontaneous outbreak in front of the consulate in Libya.
That's
not true. We know that's a lie.
That's not a Larry. That's not a lie, man. That's not a lie.
Wait.
There was a demonstration. Perhaps it was joined or exploited by others.
Sir. I know you're not giving me time to tear that apart. I could easily do it. I'm not going to do it.
You can't do it.
Point I'd like to make. I'd like to make a more important point, and this is it.
Yes,
his job as Chief Executive Officer of the United States, as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the United States, is to protect embassy and diplomatic personnel. The government of Libya informed him formally they could not do it. Under international law, that gives him the authority and the right to deploy American forces to do so. He did not do so. Leon Panetta testified. He notified him about the attack, and he could not contact Obama afterwards. You know why? Because that low-down rotten went to bed. He went to bed. Now, let me tell you something. That's important because people got to know
this. It's
this.
Incredible, man.
When they hear the lies, this administration keeps
the CIA. The CIA blocked it because they didn't want to be found out.
No,
you know that, Larry. Come on, man.
True. You know me, Salim. I was in the armed force for over 20 years.
I know. That's why you should know what the CIA is up to.
And I'm still in touch with people.
You know what they were up to. You know it was a dirty thing going on in Benghazi.
Sir, let me tell you the standard operating procedure that are in effect right now. They don't need the president to say nothing because they're standard. American forces trained for arrest commission is called an NEO operation for non-combatant evacuation operation. Every embassy and consulate has and practices all kinds of
Benghazi was neither. It was neither an embassy nor was it a consulate.
True.
It was a CIA compound.
I'm tell you why it's not true. I mean, you can't have your own version of facts.
You have your own tendentious version, Larry.
No, sir. This is standard.
You are pushing the right wing angle, and I understand why you do it. I know your allegiances, and so I'm not surprised. But it's not.
Sir, this
factual.
is standard. It's not true. The Marine Battalion landing teams, Navy SEALs practice NEO operations prior to every seagoing deployment has a very high priority mission. This involves full-scale dress rehearsals with civilian role players, helicopters, landing craft, rounding up stranded stragglers, opposing force ambushes, role-playing angry mobs, fighting your way to LZs or beaches while you
and you're saying this doesn't even require. But Larry, you're saying this doesn't require presidential.
Salim, now listen to me.
You say it's standard operation procedure, right?
No, Salim, please. Every single time the Marines or the Defense Department or anybody, theater commander, gets word by any means that an incident such as Benghazi going on, it is standard operating procedure to implement, start the ball rolling, getting all the participants and all the players to the start line, to the line of departure, and await orders from the president, because only the president has the authority to authorize a cross-border incursion. Only he can do it. But they get everything ready. And in fact, if you listen to the testimony, people said that was what was done. They were waiting for the go order. Everything was ready. They didn't get it.
So the president wants to kill American citizens. That's your allegation?
That's low down, dirty, rotten.
Is that your allegation, like that the president wants to kill?
Don't ask me to read his
Larry,
mind.
Man, see,
I know he didn't do what he
You have been
done.
driven, I think, quite close to insane, man. You've left rationality completely, man.
No. Salim,
you had a slight purchase on rationality for a while.
You ever heard
now, man, you sound like the most rabid fox.
I know. Right.
Fox infused.
I'll own up to that. I plead guilty.
Right winger, man.
Let me tell you this much. You ever heard of
I'm
Tyrone?
Disappointed, Larry. I'm disappointed.
Woods and Glenn Doherty?
Huh?
You heard about those two gentlemen?
Larry, I don't know, man. I'm beginning.
Well, you need to know, because I like to tell you about them. Every American should know Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty.
Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty, the two SEALs who were killed?
Yeah, let me tell you what they did. Let me tell you what they
were
did.
CIA. You know they belong to the CIA, and the CIA had responsibility for them. Right? They didn't want anyone to know that they were CIA. That's why they didn't really respond.
Let me tell you what they did. Forget the background.
But that's the
Forget
truth,
the backstory. Let's talk about what they did. They wanted to go help out those Americans in that consulate. They were told
in that compound, in that CIA compound.
They said, you cannot go. They said, to hell with this. Americans in trouble. They had no equipment.
Come on, man. You sound ridiculous. Okay, man. I can't let you go, Larry. You're venturing into cartoon land. This is not a cartoon show, brother. See you later, Larry. I tried to hang with the brother, but the only reason that Doherty and the other SEAL weren't mentioned is because they were CIA people. The CIA was trying to cover their backs. Come on, man. It's been revealed. Larry, come on. All right, let's go to let's see, Maceo. Hey, Maceo, what's up, bro?
Hey, Salim, how are you?
I'm good, brother. Good.
Great. And hello to your listeners and Albert Woods and Roxanne and Mansong. Salim, I just want to just essentially, just pay homage to Malcolm X and Lorraine Hansberry. Both of their birthdays are tomorrow. And if I may, I'd just like to say a few things about both of them.
All right.
Okay, first and foremost, the great Malcolm X, born in Omaha, Nebraska, on May 19th, 1925, to Louise, Little, his mother, from Grenada. His father, Earl Little. His mother was, both of them were Garveyettes, as you know. And both of them, his mother was a secretary and contributing writer to the Negro World newspaper. His father was the president of the Omaha, Nebraska branch. And ultimately, let me say this, that Malcolm X and his siblings were influenced by that. They were instilled with racial pride and self-reliance by their mother and their father. And then, ultimately, as you know, they said that his father just committed suicide, but that was a farce. And but he was killed, or and with the streetcar, as everybody knows. And then his mother, of course, ultimately was committed to an insane asylum. And Malcolm was a brilliant young man. I mean, my gosh. I mean, but when he was in prison, I understand that this John Fembry was supposed to have helped to initiate or to get him to read more and stuff like that. But he was already a brilliant young man. And anyway, but when he got out of the nation, out of jail, and became a part of the nation, helped to establish a number of temples, the temple in Boston, in Philadelphia, and then also in Springfield, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Atlanta. And what speaks to me, in addition to all of the great things that he did as a black nationalist and Pan-Africanist, that incident on April 26, 1957, when he heard about this Johnson Hinton that was being beat by the police, that was beaten by the police, and he went to the station and he inquired about it, and then ultimately, a crowd gathered outside, and the crowd was 500, and then ultimately 4,000 people. So anyway, Malcolm X, just tremendous. And Lorraine Hansberry, born on May 19th, 1930, in Chicago, Illinois, to Carl Augustus Hansberry, her father, and then Nanny Perry, her mother. His father was a great businessman. He was a real estate owner, and his mother was a school teacher, of course, but also a award committee woman, and then also a social matron. And just like Malcolm X's parents, they instilled racial pride in their children, and also taught them to challenge discriminatory practices. But anyway, Lorraine Hansberry ultimately she went to Betsy Ross School. She went to Inglewood High School, and then ultimately she got a job at Paul Robeson's paper Freedom in New York. She became a playwright and wrote her play. Of course, Raisin in the Sun was basically it was something that was in line with what she had experienced as a child in terms of her parents fighting against restricted covenants, and also working with the working class. But she also worked with the SNCC in terms of fundraising, and she spoke out against colonialism in Africa. She also helped to write the text for SNCC's movement book. Some people might have some objections because she married Robert Nemiroff, right. But it never attenuated her support and her strong advocacy for the black community.
Very politically active artist, as many folks were during those days. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Appreciate it, Maceo.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Malcolm X and Lorraine Hansberry. We're going to talk a little bit more about Malcolm when we come back, because tomorrow is his birthday. And ironically and tragically, his grandson was killed in Mexico City last week in a very mysterious incident. We could talk a little bit about that as well when we come back. 807, Salim MuWakkil here on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. Our number is 591-1690, 1690, 773-591-1690. And we want to talk to you. We want to find out what is on your mind. want to talk a little bit about Malcolm X, man whose birthday is celebrated tomorrow. It used to be the occasion for the African Liberation Day celebration as well. Many people look to Malcolm as a beacon of activism in many realms, amazingly so. Sunni Muslims look to Malcolm as a representative of Islam, of righteous Islam in this country. Black arts advocates look to Malcolm as one who emphasized the need to reach back beyond the aesthetics of Europe to appreciate our own aesthetic contributions. Black studies advocates look to Malcolm as one who talked about alternative scholarship, going back into our history, to antiquity, to discover the riches of Africa and the great things that our ancestors accomplished in the world, although they rarely appear on the civilizational stage in other people's scholarship. It was Malcolm who provoked that quest for alternative scholarship. Malcolm had such an amazing effect on this culture, despite the fact that he was only 39 years when he died, and despite the fact that he had only been away from the Nation of Islam for a little more than not quite 2 years before he died. And it was within that time when he left the nation, although much of what he did was important while he was in the nation, he brought much of Black America back toward Africa. He inspired a lot of revisionist scholarship, and this was while he was in the nation. He glorified and celebrated the name of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Many people hadn't heard of that name before Malcolm made it clear how important a thinker he was in the Black diaspora. And there's just so much that this man did in the short amount of time that he was on the planet. It was quite incredible, quite frankly, how widespread his effect was, and therefore it's even more. There was so much expectation for his siblings, his daughters, who were shepherded expertly and I think pretty graciously by his widow, Sister Betty Shabazz, who was very, very protective of his image and his legacy. And she died in a very ironic way as well, because she died because of injuries suffered in a fire that her grandson set, Malcolm Shabazz. He later explained that he set that fire because he wanted to go back to his mother. He was trying to be an obstreperous force in her life, so that she had no other option but to send him back to his mother. So he was trying to do objectionable things so that he would be considered a burden on her and have to be sent back. At the time, you'll remember that his mother was undergoing some legal difficulties because she had been accused of conspiring with this guy to assassinate Minister Farrakhan. You remember that. Those of you who stay close to this story may remember that she had been accused of that, and so he, who is her son, was staying with his grandmother at the time, Betty Shabazz, and he didn't want to do that. He wanted to go back, so that's why he set the fire. Unfortunately, the fire spread and ultimately resulted in her, Betty Shabazz, Malcolm's widow, his grandmother's death. Tragedy all around. He spent some time in jail and prison, and reportedly became conscious a bit. He did a lot of reading, came out of prison and wanted to do something for black people. He wanted to make amends for what he had done and to make himself an asset to the black community. And so he was trying to do that from what I understand, the reports I've been reading, he's been trying to use the connections his name affords him to help advance the careers of people he thought were worthy, conscious rappers, for example. In fact, from what I understand, it was during a mission for one of these conscious rappers. He was supposed to be going to L.A. to do that, to help advance this career, and wound up in Mexico City on a detour with another friend when he was allegedly killed behind a dispute over money. That's the story. I'm sure, there are other stories out there. A lot of people say that, the FBI was on Malcolm, and they were indeed. They stopped him from going to Iran. He had planned to go to Iran earlier in 2012, and he was prevented from doing so. He had already been to Libya with Cynthia McKinney on one of her trips to Libya. He met Gaddafi. And his connection to Malcolm was played up pretty well in Libya, and he had himself announced a new appreciation of the value of international relations for African Americans, for us to be more aware of what's going on globally, because we have these connections that we need to exploit for our own benefit. And so, in that spirit, apparently, he had also planned to go to Iran. And that's when he was prevented from doing so. And so there are those who say that, the FBI has been watching this brother and may have had something to do with his unfortunate demise. Of course, that can easily be attributed to just a conspiracy theory. But as are most conspiracy theories, there is a glimmer of plausibility in that theory, and in this one as well. But it's just so tragic that this brother, who seemed to be developing and blossoming into something that a lot of folks had been hoping for, should be taken out just at this time. It is, an acute tragedy. It's one of those kind of tragedies that we've been suffering too much of in our community lately. It's time for, some very, very good news to come our way. Let's go to the phones, Brother Aaron. Hey, man, how are you, sir?
Salam alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, brother, doing well.
Okay. I want to share something with the WVON family, as always. Yesterday, ever since yesterday morning, something was this particular event that was on my mind, which has been bothering me since yesterday morning. And I was listening to MuWakkil and yesterday morning, and a brother came on and he made a comment, and he was with references from the Bible. He was talking about, if black people come back to God, that we will have a better community, which I totally agree to 100%. But one says, and for those who listen to multiple shows, MuWakkil and different shows all together, he said, and I quote, that he was kind of in between. He wasn't sure if there was a quote unquote God, and if there was a God. What was my sister's name that got killed? And Michelle Obama went to her funeral.
Hadia Pendleton.
Right, that sister, and that brother that got killed in the suburbs. He said those people, or the young people, got killed that was trying to get educated and make a life of themselves. But then, if the God, then why did that happen? And that greatly disturbed me. And the reason that greatly disturbed me is because, how can you be in between? God is the truth of all things. And all you got to do is just look in your scriptures, and it'll tell you right there, just like in Genesis with the first book, God created heaven and earth. He did all these wonderful things. He created heaven, he created earth, and that just they disturb me. How can you not just say,
but Aaron, man, there are a lot of people. Now I didn't hear this now, and I don't want to speak for Matt, but there are a lot of people who say, if there is a benevolent God, how do these tragedies happen? And I mean, this question has plagued humanity for many eons. You know, how do bad things happen to good people if there is a God? That's a question that people ask, and if he asks that, you know, that's a plausible question, wouldn't you say? If there is a benevolent God out here who has certain rules for good and bad behavior, why is it that people who do good things suffer negative consequences? Don't you think that's a legitimate question?
I understand that. I understand that question, and I thought about that too. I meant to call Matt on the show and say it's public over the air. I didn't get a chance to, but my answer to that is I totally understand you, but you know, Jesus did no wrong, but yeah, he got killed by the Jews. So how can we come and say that, you know, the righteous will be prosecuted? And that's something speaking. He was talking about Malcolm X, Muhammad Elijah. That's something that Elijah Muhammad talked about all the time and talks about in the Father called more frequently. The righteous will be prosecuted, and until these enemies and these evil spirits be totally removed from the planet Earth, we're going to have these, you know, issues. We have good people out there that are trying to make a life for themselves, but there's no guarantee that evil actions and evil deeds will take over us, and, you know, we just leave, but we're a good person.
And then, you know, right, I hear, but then there's the other thing as well, man, Aaron, and that is a lot of people use scripture to make to help us understand certain issues in our reality, but without understanding that much of that scripture is a product of another culture, another era, another language. It has to be translated. The people who translate it have to know what they meant in the first time they said it and what that cultural implication was of what they said when they said it the first time. The translator has to know all of that when he makes a translation of that scriptural reference. And at the time that scriptural reference was first made, things have changed. There may be different modes of production by the time that the translator comes on. And so it's very difficult to completely hold whatever the scripture says as some precise indication of the will of the Creator, of God's will, or of the religious testament, whatever it may be, because it's so variable. It's so vulnerable to various people's interpretation of what's going on. Don't you think? I mean, there are people who look at the same scripture that Elijah Muhammad says reveals that African people, that the tribe of Shabazz is going to inherit the earth. There are some people who would look at that same scripture and say that the people of Adam or the Adamites, the Christian identity movement people would say that they are the ones who are going to inherit the new Israelis, the new Israelites. That they're the ones who are going to inherit the earth, and that black people are mud people. Folks can look at scripture and make completely different interpretations on the same scripture. And so to base our behavior on some particular scriptural reference is a very shaky base indeed, don't you think?
Yes, sir. I agree. I definitely agree. My point is, I'm going to end with this. I understand what you're saying. My point is, humbly, is that there is a God in my personal religion. That there is a God, man, and there's good people. And the young sister was a good person, young brother that got killed. And the suburb was obviously a good person. He was doing sports. He was doing something positive. Mm-hmm. And, good people are going to die. Bad people are going to die. The prophets were good people. God is all holy. He is all holy. He is.
Okay,
So,
brother.
No,
So
Yeah,
you're
go
saying, I got you. I hear you, and that's that's how a lot of theologians solve this mystery. We don't understand the reasoning. We don't understand God's reasoning. We think we do, but we don't, and we have to have faith that His reasoning is something that is for the good of all humanity or all creation. Right?
Right, yes, sir. My point is, we just got, get his unmature mindset. Read our scriptures, whatever religion.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, brother Aaron. Let's go to Steve. Hey, Steve, how you doing?
You got a watch and everything.
Steve, is this you? Hello, Steve. Steve is gone. Wow, that was quick. All right, man. Song, my brother, Hotep.
Hey, Hotep, right back at you, man.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I just was glad, to hear that folks are remembering El Haji Malik El Shabazz.
Yes, sir.
And I would urge folk in your audience, sometime on tomorrow, break out some of the tapes that you have of Malcolm. He's got CDs or DVDs or his books. Look at his face. Listen to his words. Try to reflect on all that wisdom and knowledge and courageous advocacy that this guy did.
Amazing.
For us. That would be... Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that would be one way that the masses can participate in remembering him, because he and all the others that have done work on behalf of the masses can be, they live as long as we can remember them.
That's right.
So I would, urge folks to consider that. Quickly, Salim, I just wanted to let you and your audience know that there's going to be a great seminar at the Communiversity next Saturday. Now, May 25th is African Liberation Day worldwide. Mm-hmm. And, of course, we know that the All-African People's Revolutionary Party will be doing a symposium next Friday at the University of Chicago to kick it off. But the march and rally and that whole program will be Saturday the 25th at the Winnie Mandela Alternative High School, 7847 South Jeffrey. They'll be assembling about 11:30. March kicks off, I think, about 12 noon. So that's something, that we definitely want folks to, look forward to. Mm-hmm. And, of course, next Saturday also, a great trio of genocide will be presenting a joint panel at the Communiversity at the Carruthers Center for Inner City Studies.
A great trio. Now, what? Explain that.
Here's the great trio.
Mm-hmm.
Brother Olumenji.
Oh.
He's author of a book some years back called White Genocide, Black Obsolescence, The Question of Black Survival in White America.
That's a sharp brother there. Sharp brother.
Yeah. Then Dr. Batu Shikari.
Yes, sir.
Who also is an author. Uh-huh. His book, Tribalism, Mysticism, Primitivism, and the Rise of Genocide Against the African World. Mm. And then thirdly, none other than Sabi Nkosi Mundari, who you just had not long ago. He's the author of a new book called Genocide by Any Other Name is Still Genocide. Yes, so this would be great for, especially Brother James and many others that, are concerned on that level. And,
and it's 12 noon? It begins at 12 noon?
Yeah, from 12 noon to 2 p.m. at the Jacob Carruthers Center for Inner City Studies. That's 700 East Oakwood Boulevard, between 39th and 40th Streets at Langley, 1 block west of Cottage Grove.
That's a great, a great trio indeed.
It's free, and that's Saturday, next Saturday, and you go there, then you can go out to the ALD activity on Jeffrey. So I hope folk, come on down.
All right, brother.
All right, my brother. I appreciate
Thank you, man, son. Appreciate that, man. All right. All right. Community happenings. This is where you hear community happenings. Now, speaking of community happenings, brother at an underground bookstore on 52nd and Harper, 5206 in Harper. The bookstore that is that Brother Sekou runs there is beginning to get more traffic as all of that construction that was happening on Harper begins to finish up. The street is going to open. You know, there's a movie theater, the Harper movie theater there, and the brother's right down the street from it. A bookstore that has much more than simply books, and you know, it is worthy of patronage. So when you get a chance, check it out. It's at 52nd and Harper, right there where they are building this new hotel. A lot of gleaming new structures are around there, so he will probably do pretty well once all of that construction is over. A lot of people will be attracted to the bookstore because it has an amazing amount of material that's available. Not just books, incense, a lot of spiritual and metaphysical material as well. Books and records and incense and all of that. So make sure you check him out. Let's go back to the phones. D. Good evening, D.
Yeah, Brother Man. Not Mansung. I almost called you Mansung.
Yes, sir.
Brother Salim. I would like to ask your official opinion on Obama. And let me preface my question by saying that I listened to all the personalities on WVON one time or another, and there seems to be a common denominator. They seem to fall short of any real earnest or, God forbid, harsh criticism of Obama, which we know in his 5 years has been exemplified thus far. He's worthy of a great deal. I contend that he's a trained Negro, literally house Negro in the White House. That's my humble opinion, and a lot of people share my consensus. But I want to know from you, and I ask this, Brother Salim, because there seems to be even with tonight's show, there's two gentlemen much earlier, there's a theme around a lot of what they were saying, and the criticism can easily be implied with Obama. And I notice you seem to not really ever, and you know, with all your world knowledge and knowing what's going on in other countries, I would tune in, expect Salim, especially when Obama flat out guilty of sacrificing his people, which is very protruding to any reasonable trial of facts. So I would just really want to know, what is your honest opinion? Because if it is, and I can understand it, you know, when you work at WVON, because I remember the 50th year celebration a few months ago, Obama, you know, gave his little video, congratulations or whatever you want to call it, you know, and maybe Melody or one of the powers that be feel like they don't want to, you know, excoriate in a way. I don't know, but I find just particular that here's a man who's blatantly sacrificing us, and nobody, for whatever reason, seemed to be able to rise. We know Matt McGee, because I listened to you on Matt show on Mondays, and I just gave up on Matt altogether. But it's just a lot to be said about that, and I want you to just clarify it if you can. I appreciate you letting me get my thoughts out without hitting me with a barrage of interjections like I've known you to do. But I'm gonna hang up and listen if it helps. But I really want to get your take, because you are a learned person, and you know black issues, and you know good and well that's a house Negro, literally White House Negro. So it ain't just a Malcolm term, but he's literally that in the White House in Washington D.C. sacrificing us blatantly, irrefutably sacrificing us. And I know somebody, especially a Salim MuWakkil, gotta be able to have the intestinal fortitude to say, hey, yes, the man is sacrificing us thus far. We don't have no reason to believe the next 3 years is going to be any different. But I'm going to hang up and listen to you, my dear friend.
All right, brother. D, appreciate that, man. I hear what D is saying. And he's right. A lot of folks agree with that perspective, that the president is sacrificing us on the altar. I mean, there are others who say that he is the most effective evil. You know, I often have said that he's the lesser of evils, but there are those who argue that he's the most effective evil because he allows a lot of the evil stuff that others want to do. He gives them the cover of a progressive veneer, a black face that allows him to do things that somebody white wouldn't be able to do, like this kill list, for example, or the drone killings of American citizens. If Bush or someone like that had been linked to that, there would have been enormous protests in the activist community against that. But since it's Obama doing it, someone who has won a Nobel Peace Prize just on his own aura, then we are less likely to protest that kind of egregious violation of constitutional privileges. Indeed, and I think that Brother D is right about that, and others are right when they make that case. I've made the comparison between Margaret Thatcher, the first female prime minister of the United Kingdom. After her tenure, women in the United Kingdom looked at their status and said it was worse than it was before she came in. That she didn't do anything for women or the feminist cause in England, because and I think she would be proud of that because she didn't appear to bow to the dictates of a feminist ideology. And I think that President Obama is trying to make the same kind of case for himself in order to be regarded well by history. I think he's making a mistake in that myself. And I've been saying that for a while. So that's why in some respects I disagree with D, because I've been making a critique of the president, not a caustic critique. At first I was caustic against him, but then I became a little bit more considerate. And even now as I realize what he's done and how I agree with much of what D has said, I also understand his limits. The fact that he is the president of the United States and he has a job description that doesn't include the development of African Americans. We may want it to include that, but the job description of president, of POTUS, president of the United States, that job description doesn't include our best interests. We hope that it does, and we can push for it to do so, but it's not an automatic inclusion. And so that's why I differ a little bit with that. When they say House Negro, I think that's an inappropriate designation, because House Negro is a movement term, a term for someone who is not doing something for the best interest of black people as a people. Malcolm famously described it as House Negro versus Field Negro. The Field Negro has the best interest of the masses at heart, whereas the House Negro is more interested in the master. Master, we sick. Master, our house on fire. That kind of thing. That's what the House Negro's interests are. And so that's a movement designation. But for a president of the United States, I think that kind of designation is inappropriate, because he's more than simply a movement figure. He's the president of the United States, and his job description is much more inclusive than that of someone who is leading the black movement. And so that's why I disagree with you, my brother D. I hope that's clear. I do have a lot of disagreements with the president, especially foreign policy and many other things. I mean, I think that he uses the wrong approach on talking to black folks. I hope when he goes to Morehouse and makes his speech that he doesn't employ the same kind of condescending language he has employed in the past, talking about our cultural failings and that kind of thing, rather than the structural impediments that restrict us from achievement, that he can help eliminate or at least attenuate by him being the chief executive of this country. He can use that bully pulpit to help white people understand what we've been up against for all of these centuries. They still don't understand, and he's not helping. And so I understand where D is coming from with that. But again, it's deeper than simply his advocacy for the black community. Let's go back to the phones. Tommy, hey, man, how are you, sir?
Well, first of all, let me say good evening to you, Salim. And I just want to leave everybody with this. And he spake a parable unto them to this end that men ought always to pray and not to faint, saying that there was in a city a judge which feared not God, neither regarded man. And there was a widow in that city, and she came unto him, saying, Avenge me of mine adversary. And he would not for a while, but afterward he said within himself, Though I fear not God, nor regard man, yet because this widow troubles me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she wearies me. And I just simply wanted to read you, Salim, based upon one simple principle. I'm going to hell downtown come Monday, bro. And anybody else who fears or cares or who got any kind of passion, because, see, this ain't about just no education or school closing. This is about shooting, the lack of jobs, the total, the destruction of the South Side that goes on. And one other thing, I'm going down there because of the ancestral voices that cry out and say that in the midst of tyranny and triumph and stuff, that the phoenix rises when people have enough sense to recognize and understand that people play you the way you play yourself. And so when I hear people talking all this stuff about the president ain't did nothing for us and stuff, what did we do at the midterm election when we gave 654 seats? What did we, when the only president in history had one of his own ethnicity come and say, well, listen, I voted for you last time. Tell me why I should vote for you this time. I mean, things ain't going too well, as if all of a sudden we have been accepted in this country. And I just think it's time for us to recognize the people like Malcolm. And I thank God that I had a father who took me to the mosque, and I had the great opportunity to hear the Honorable Elijah Wan speak. And I go down this list because, we're at the point right now, Salim, that BS is time for a walk. And I don't understand why people call you and go all off and go crazy and all the rest of it and stuff, but I do understand this. It is a time for reasonable people to come to a reasonable conclusion. They don't give a damn about us. It ain't like they don't know what they're doing to us. They know exactly what they're doing to us. And anytime we have a vehicle like WVON, people like yourself, people like all these people all across the country, Dr. Claude Anderson telling us means and ways for us to straighten out our paradigms, our dynamic, and we continue to do this, I'm going to hell downtown, because at least I want to know when somebody stands up over me and gives the last right to maybe put me in the ground, that this man didn't just step back and just say to hell with it. Love you, Salim, and God bless.
All right, Tommy. Thank you, brother. All right. Let's see. I guess Maurice. Hey, my brother. How you doing?
I am blessed, brother Salim.
Yes,
God bless you, man.
You are indeed.
And to that cool compatriot of yours over there on the board.
Yes, sir. Brother Greg.
Brother Greg.
Yes, indeed.
You need the brother Michael Jihad.
Cool is exactly the word. That's right.
Yeah. I want to leave my phone number with Brother Greg so Michael Jihad and I can talk, because the brother's bringing something to the table in terms of our money.
Yes.
Pooling it together. I see a commitment there.
Yes.
And I would also trust him. I would also trust you. I would trust Cliff Kelly. I would trust Mark Wallace. There are a lot of good people I trust out here. The problem is the bad knuckleheaded people get so much airtime. They are so high profile in relation to that. And I don't like to do monologues, Salim. I like to do dialogue, brother,
yes,
because dialogue is far more healthy. You understand
Absolutely.
what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, brother.
But let me go to Brother Wells in Cincinnati.
Yes.
No wonder you are banned on the radio. Because a lengthy conversation does not necessarily constitute a legitimate conversation. Also, Brother Larry in ATL.
But you know what, Brother Maurice, the thing I hesitate on cutting short those conversations, because Brother Wells has said some insightful things in the past, man, and so I have faith that he has the best interests of our community at heart.
I know.
And I keep hoping that he comes up with that, you know?
You're trying to do some good in the hood. But do you remember this smart doctor who used to call you a long time ago?
Yes, I do.
Eventually, he had to start calling. He started sounding cookies.
No, man, no, brother. I was giving him that same kind of benefit of the doubt, no doubt.
Right. So, I mean, I love the sharpness of our minds, but sometimes it's like we don't quite get the whole picture and, put all this together.
Yes,
I'm looking for that in this generation, Salim, because I know it's there.
Yes, it is there. Absolutely.
I know it's there. We got incredible potential, man. Incredible potential. But Michael Jihad, again, thanks. Okay, Salim, in defense of the scripture, and one that I base a lot of my actions on, of course the translation lost something. Of course we've been miseducated on the Bible, but there's some principles in the Bible, black man. For instance, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. I mean,
that's it. As far as I'm concerned, that's it completely.
You do that one right there. The whole world problems are solved, black man. I'm telling you.
Yes,
and
sir.
Then here's another one from King Solomon. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. But in all you're getting, get understanding. Now, let me apply that to this money thing and Matt McGill.
Yes, sir. All right.
Matt don't understand, Salim.
Well, he's trying. He's trying, though, man. I think he had this
and
brother
I'm
on.
giving him credit for that. And unlike the last brother, I'm not going to give up on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because like thousands of us, he didn't have that black history connection. He's not rooted culturally. Okay?
Mm.
And that's why he can take our money and comfortably go to a white institution or have white institution. You know what I'm saying? Long as I've been talking about black bank, you think he would automatically go to a black bank, right?
Well, so you're not with the Illinois Savings and Loans thing either?
Hell no, Salim.
Okay.
Come on, man.
Who? What bank would you?
This goes back to that Japanese businessman who automatically went to the Bank of Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me?
Yes, sir.
There's no reason why we can't go to. Okay, we can start with Seaway.
Seaway.
Yeah, we can start with Seaway. It's
okay.
A black-owned bank. A lot of people feel comfortable with Seaway. I hope Michael Jihad would feel comfortable with Seaway.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a Bank of Africa.
Okay.
So we take what we got and work with that.
But I think Michael Jihad's point is that there would be some restriction on specifying the ethnicity of those who are eligible to contribute to this particular fund.
To contribute, I thought he was saying using the money. I think that was his issue.
Well, yeah, perhaps using the money as well. But that same restriction would be for Seaway, wouldn't it be?
I will take anybody's money.
But I mean, wouldn't it? Okay, but wouldn't using the money? Wouldn't that same restriction be applicable for Seaway as well?
Well, yeah, this is FUBU. This is for us, by us.
Yeah.
This is for us, by us.
Okay.
Essentially.
Yes, sir.
And that's the way I'm envisioning it.
All right.
And I think Michael sees it the same way.
I agree. I mean, that was my impression of what you were contributing to, But I'm wondering if there's some statute, if there's some statutory prohibition to this, then that has to be considered as well. But I as far as I know,
I would just say apply a heavy dose of common sense as we go along here, Salim. Okay,
yes, sir.
We don't have to split hairs, all right?
Okay.
It ain't that complicated, brother. Let's just apply a heavy dose of common sense.
All right.
As we go along, we're not reinventing the wheel here.
Yeah, so I think that's what Matt was trying to find out too. What was possible.
Yeah, and I'm glad he put the work in. He gets an E for effort.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna try to be on with you guys Monday morning. No, I was the only guy on with you guys that whole hour, man.
Well, there's a lot of callers, man. But we have to be selective on who is chosen.
All right, and you know what? I really felt unique, like I did at the Millionaire March, 1 in a million.
Yes,
I'm
indeed.
special.
All right, brother. You are special, man. No doubt.
All right, back, man.
All right, Maurice. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye. All right, let's go to Brother John. Hey, John, how are you, my brother?
Yes, thank you, Salim. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, sir. I know you really admire the minister. He was here in Detroit.
Yeah, talking about buying up land, urging folks to purchase land and housing that is very cheap these days.
Yes. Well, the reception that the minister received for the last few days here in Detroit, he'll never get the same reception in Chicago. Never.
Why is that, John?
He's headquartered in Chicago. He's been there for over 30 years. I've never seen the reception that the minister got from the ecumenical community, the churches, from the city council, from the media, the public newspapers. They all express great admiration and love for the minister.
So there was
unparalleled.
It was pretty much a positive response from the media.
Yeah.
Okay.
It pretty much,
All right.
And the festivities. Look, whenever the minister comes to town, okay, it's always a good feeling, festive occasion.
Okay.
Always. Okay.
But you have some qualms with that.
Excuse me?
I said you have some qualms with that.
Well, let me say this, Salim. I like the minister too.
Okay.
But what I got to say had nothing to do with my liking him. Okay. I've never seen a balance sheet, income loss statement, or real estate portfolio from Minister Farrakhan. I have no idea what the financial health is of the Nation of Islam. So for me to say I trust you with hitting the economic empowerment fund, would be ludicrous on my part.
Yes, sir.
Furthermore,
weren't you following their disclosures on the Million Man March, for example? There was a lot of questions about that, and they seem to have answered those questions with their disclosures. Did that satisfy you?
No. But
okay.
I don't begrudge the minister of the Million Man March.
Okay.
I don't. He worked for that. Whatever happened, that's not my. The Million Man March is the minister's. Whatever he did with that, I'm willing to accept it. That's not my qualm.
Okay, I got you. All right.
Mine is the day-to-day operation of his organization. Ain't nothing to do with the Million Man March.
All right.
I respect him for that. I don't no criticism there. Okay. But let me say this. I believe in peer review. Okay. If you are a scientist, the quality of your research depends on strict, strenuous peer review.
Correct.
And you have to stand up to it.
Absolutely.
To develop your reputation.
Yes, sir.
In the Nation of Islam, they need to get out of this saying where they say you can either accept it or reject it. They should stop saying that.
That's a good point.
Because that takes away any accountability, any review. We just have to accept this as in the cult of personality of the minister, which I think is wrong. I think if he is not willing to stand up to peer review, he is not worthy of commanding a large fund. Because I'm definitely going to be on the case. And you ask me, who can you trust more than the minister? Well, for starters, I tell you this: you can trust me. You can trust me, no doubt about it. You want to know? I pay my own way, Salim. Trust me. You can attack me all you want, and I guarantee you, I'm gonna come with the best practices. At the end of the day, we're gonna be happy with what I got to deliver.
Yes, sir.
And if you're not, then I'll step aside and we give it to somebody else.
But tell me this, though, John. Tell me this, man. Do you think that of all of the national figures out here, who do you think is the most trustworthy? Do you think the minister is up there with the most trustworthy?
If I were to affirm that, I wouldn't be saying anything, Salim, because I don't trust near one of them, no hair, no hide of any of them.
All right.
So if I said yes, and I'm more likely to say yes because of the minister's speech, his talk. Okay, because he can talk the right thing. Because he came to this town. I'm gonna tell you, Salim, he came to the town and he spoke the right message, no question. But check this out. Come Sunday, everybody gonna do the opposite of what the minister said.
Some people will.
Monday,
Some people
everybody
will.
going to work. So what else? Come on, man. I ain't got time for that foolishness, man. And I'm gonna call it out. Come Sunday, people gonna give money and they're gonna put it in the white corporate banks. Come Monday, we all going to work, and that's it.
Yeah, I think you may be
no
right,
economic
man.
development there.
I think you may be right, brother.
And you can't. And I mean, in here, Salim, you can't be critical of other people who are investing in the city. I've been to downtown Detroit has never been as clean, as lively as it has been over the last 5 years.
Is that right? Yeah.
Oh man, it is a jail, and I'm gonna tell you, I look forward to 10 years from now, it's gonna be out of sight. Downtown area is people are investing. That's where the money is. And the minister, he's saying that African American. Listen, I don't need the minister to say that. First of all. But it's a reason why.
Well, what about that Detroit Stadium idea? That an African American exposition.
I've never heard that. I can't see. Good luck. I don't know anything about that.
Okay, all right.
And I like you mentioned about the financing. Is the money right?
Yeah.
But let me just say this. African Americans in this city, we go all over the state in search of entertainment. We keep the Indian casinos hopping and bumping.
Yes.
I can take you to 5 or 6 Indian casinos throughout the state of Michigan. And it's African Americans serving them. Okay? We got casinos here in the Motor City, here in Detroit. We take care of them. We keep them humming. We keep them in business. If you serve an all-black casino, good luck. I don't know how it's going to shake out, but good luck with it. Thank you, Salim.
All right, man. Thank you, John. Appreciate it, brother. All right, let's go to James. Brother James, hey, my brother. How are you,
yes,
sir?
Oh, brother, let's make it plain.
Okay.
First, I want to make a very important announcement to everybody. Listen very carefully.
Yes, sir.
For those who don't know about the selective service where young men have to register 18 to 25 years old, you must spread the word. It is very serious. If you ever just go and read what they say, it's like the Patriot Act. It will scare you to death. I haven't heard any commercials on this station about young men registering for the selective service.
Well, what scares you? What is the frightening thing for you?
The young men can be prosecuted and convicted of failure to register and fined up to $250,000, in prison up to 5 years or both, and they can permanently lose their eligibility for student aid, government employment, job training, and U.S. citizenship. I mean, it is absolutely frightening. And I done heard that commercial about bullying white children 1,000,000 times on this station. And the selective service haven't saw fit to run about young men registering not one time. But I've heard them run that commercial on white station. I mean, this stuff is really scary. And a lot of young blacks, I know they don't know about it. I mean, and after 25,
you mean if they don't
it.
if they don't register, they are vulnerable to these other these applications.
Right, they can be locked up, they can be in prison up to 5 years, and fined $250,000. Matter of fact, they can get both of those, and they can lose their permanently lose their eligibility for student financial aid, government employment, job training.
That's if they don't register.
If they don't register, and after age 25, they in the pipe.
Yes, sir.
Now, Barack Bush. It appears that oh my God, I ain't gonna call him nothing. Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are saying that he's worse than Bush. Maybe
that's what I was gonna say, man. Just let me say this. It appears that colored boy in the outhouse is going to make George Bush whacker look a lot better. Now, you say he has a limit. The only limit he has, brother, is the limit that he adheres to. He went up there to be the man. So what? He don't have no limit. He can stand up and do what he want to do. So if he cowtailing, he fooled the people. So I don't see what you talking about. He having a limit.
Oh, James, come on, man. You know that there's a job description for the president.
Well, I don't see nothing in the job description said custodian of the empire.
That's what it is. That's the major job description, my brother.
I know, but I didn't see that in the description, brother. I thought he's supposed to be supporting all the American, doing what's right for all American cities. And the other day, all American people. And the other day, he mentioned he's fighting for the middle class. He keep mentioning the middle class. Never mentioned the poor. All the time he been there, not once. Never said the word black.
I think he said poor one time. I think we found one reference to poor people in his speeches. And he very seldom says black. You're right, and that that is very curious. I mean, you're right, man. He does some curious things, brother. No doubt about it.
Listen, they on him on the progressive station. Their big question is, when is he going to get on the bullet pulpit for the repugnance doing this and that? Why he only got on the bullet pulpit for the gun thing up there in Sandy Hook?
Yes.
They say, why he didn't get on the bullet pick earlier? Why he just picked one thing?
I got you, brother.
What's wrong with him?
Thank you, James. Appreciate it, brother. Good points.
Oh, brother, you cut me short.
I'm sorry, man.
Okay,
next
brother.
time,
I really
brother.
had something important to tell you, brother.
All right. You want to hold on, man?
Oh, yes, sir.
All right. I'll hold you on, brother. James is worth it. We'll be back. We're back. 9:10. We're talking Chicago, 1690 WVON. Well, there's been some ratifications of positions over the last few days. Karen Lewis, for example, was ratified as the president of the Teachers Union, Chicago Teachers Union. There was some opposition, but not much. In the final analysis, she had an overwhelming victory in the election. And also, Brother Wayne Watson, president of Chicago State, was ratified by a new board of governors that concluded he was suitable and actually preferable as the president. He was not considered eligible for the kind of sabbatical that the previous board had suggested. So now, these are two folks who are back strong in their previous positions. Go back to James. Hey, my brother. Yes, sir.
Brother?
You were saying.
Yes, sir. I want to thank you for holding me on because some of the previous callers threw me off.
Okay.
Two quick points, real quick.
All right.
People, this week here, they have been flying planes in the air, 3 and 4 at a time. They are running crisscross patterns. They are letting something out of the end of the plane. And whatever they let out the plane, the screen of it gets wider and wider. And before nightfall, it is still up there, whatever they're letting out. And they've been doing this for years.
Where do you notice this, James?
Oh, it depends on what day they're going to do it. They won't do it every day. They'll do it certain days. Sometimes they might do it 2 days in a row.
Okay.
And when I was driving down south with some people last year, these planes are going across state line. These are jets. They are going across state line.
No, I mean, no. You know, there are a lot of people who have launched inquiries into what is happening with these trails. What you're talking about, these jet trails.
Right.
They expand, and they many of them have elements that we don't know. We don't know what they're composed of, and they could have some serious effects on the population.
It's not in the news, and they're not talking about it. They're not giving us any information. They are not discussing it, and they mean humanity no good. So when people talk about a temperature, I'm not going against global warming, but when you talk about a 50-degree drop in temperature up or down, what are they doing? So just take a look at it. Don't take my word. Look up.
Yes, sir.
You'll see it.
You're right, man. No doubt. There's a lot of interest into these jet trails. No doubt about it.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, one last thing. Again, I'm going to make it plain. Now, we keep hearing story after story of death, shootings, bombing, bomb scares, racial attacks, racial combat. Somebody is pushing an atmosphere of death and chaos. I don't care what people believe it or not. There is a power structure that runs this country and decide what goes and what not going to go. And they have brought us here as slaves, and they've been in control of us ever since. That's why they would not let us prosper, would not let us have towns, would not let us compete in commerce. They wanted to keep us just where we were so they can come and pick us any time they got ready. Now, listen, do you ever listen to the talk show called The Butt Naked Truth with Harold Davis?
Every now and then, yes, sir.
Okay, but they get down. Listen, he was talking about a young black boy was found beaten to death in some school and rolled up in a rug.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear about that?
Yes.
Okay, said the boy's face looked like Emmett Till, and that the police said the boy killed himself. Look at what they are doing to us. They are attacking us from every angle. Now, listen, people, think about it. We are dealing with murders, killers. They have no future for us. Their future for us is to exterminate.
But James, when you make that intonation and you tell people to think about it, what do you want people to do?
Just recognize what is going on and think about if you got any children, young children, you want to try to save their life, grandchildren.
Don't you think you may be simply infusing them with fear with no alternative?
I just told you 2 alternatives.
Okay.
They can get out. They might can get their grandchildren out. They might can get their young children out. But I'm not. I am not going to get up here and bull-jive black people who've been bull-jived since they've been here and tell them they can stop these murderous plans that's been in effect for 400 years.
All right,
my brother. I'm not going to tell them they can stop it.
All right, James. Thank you, brother.
They can't.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, brother.
All right. All right. Let's go to Steve. Hey, Steve.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
All right. I just want to piggyback on something you were talking about earlier.
Yes,
when you were talking about the scandals and the things that's been going on the past couple of weeks.
Yes.
Here's my take on that, Salim. With me as an American taxpayer, me being a middle class or lower class, just for the masses of people, when I got to accept that the bankers and Wall Street had to get the trillions of dollars, when I got to accept that our Attorney General was saying they're not going to prosecute any bankers, when I got to accept that the rich don't have to pay their fair share of taxes, that corporations get away with paying any taxes at all, when I got to accept that I can be locked up indefinitely if they deem me a terrorist in the matter of national security, I don't care what happens if Obama takes a hit or any Republican or Democrat takes a hit behind any other stuff or the Tea Party because the IRS coming behind, because these same kind of abuses that they're doing to each other, they impose on us every day. And yes, I would like for it to change, but it wouldn't bother me if any one of them took a hit or somebody suffered the consequences or whatever happened while it's dealing with them up there, because they're imposing those same kind of abuses on us every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why with the Tea Party with the IRS.
So you're not all that upset about the Tea Party's charges against the IRS?
No, because Salim, the IRS target us every paycheck. So it's like, the system is rigged. Y'all telling us we have to pay taxes. Our taxes go up, but y'all saying the rich don't have to. So if they going after the Tea Party for whatever reason or whatever it is they doing, so be it, whether it's legal or illegal, so be it. Because hey, the Tea Party is not talking on the behalf of us as middle class. They
but aren't you troubled by the notion that the IRS could be politically specific, that it could target political enemies or people who may be considered somehow antagonistic to their goals? If government has that power to target people, isn't that insidious, an insidious kind of power? Isn't that something that you would be opposed to?
Yes, I would be opposed to that. But if you go with the celebrities like Wesley Snipes and Lauryn Hill and stuff, these people that didn't pay taxes and they went to jail, so it's like they're still doing it anyway. And we got a lot of like the Bowen, one of the Bowen brothers didn't pay $500,000 in taxes, but he was given a chance to pay it off in a year, and it would get funds for his rent. So the IRS are doing targeting. Period. You know,
okay, I got you.
You know, so they already doing it. You know, they pick and choose.
So you're not that upset about them choosing the Tea Party. If they indeed did it, then welcome to the club. We've always been targeted.
Exactly. It's like, okay, well, it's basically saying to us, Slim, how dare you target me? You target everybody else.
Yeah.
And they all have that. You know, the rich in the government and the elite have that concept of how dare you target me, or how dare you use this illegal wiring tapping on me. But it's okay to use it on us.
Yes. I got you.
So that's my whole point, you know.
Oh, that's a good point, man. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it, brother. All right. Yeah. Steve makes a good point. Okay, let's go to Will. Hey, Will, how you doing?
Good afternoon. Good evening, brother.
Good evening, man.
Good evening to the VON family. I mean, the callers have kind of changed me around to what I was going to say, but let me say this about those chemtrails. It's a website, I think it's still up, called What in the World Are They? www.whatintheworldatheyspring.com, and it sheds a little light on some of the things that are in that in that stuff that they're spraying. It's cadmium. It's a bunch of chemicals in that stuff that is harmful to the human. And Salim, one of your callers came on and said something about the Bible, and one of the things that is in the Bible is get wisdom.
Yes.
Okay. Elijah Muhammad told us, well, I wasn't a member of the nation, but I read the papers. Elijah Muhammad told us also to be wise in our dealings with the Caucasian people, and for us to go downtown and to beg them to come out and to stop the crime in our neighborhoods, to stop other people from buying the houses and buildings in our neighborhoods, and to educate our people. It's not very wise to me. I mean, if we know that they're doing this and it's harmful to us, surely those who are doing it know that it is harmful to us and that they are doing it. So
yeah, but see, the difference though, Will, is that a lot of people do things under the cover of a clandestine situation that other folks don't know, that their machinations are pretty much excluded from public knowledge. And so if knowledge is if they're revealed to be perpetrators of certain kinds of activities, that may inhibit them. That's the purpose of protests. I mean, that's why protests have always been conducted, is to make it to make these things more widely known, things that may not be widely known.
Okay, Salim. Okay, I'm not disagreeing with that part of it, and I will say it maybe in certain instances when things are being done to you, and you have no other means of fending these happenings or these things off, maybe you should go down there. But to ask somebody, you know, Salim, I compare the black community, I won't say compare, I kind of make a parallel to the black community and grown offspring of a set of parents living in the parents' house, not willing to leave, but want to tell the parents what should be done in their house. They want to stay out all night, play their music loud. The offspring want to, these grown of age offspring want to play the music all night, stay out all night, have the girl and boyfriend come over and spend the night. But the parents who own the house, who are in control, say, no, you can't do that here. Go get your own. And there is, that's where I am. I see, and as sure as, okay, you say that make it widely known some of the things that those in power are doing to us. Make it widely known. I guess you're suggesting to other white people because they don't know that these things are being done to us and that they are harming us. So, okay then. Okay, I'll give you that. But I'm going to say this. It's not going to make no 1 hour a difference because those who are in power don't care what anybody else thinks but themselves. And our only outlet is to do like Elijah Muhammad said, we got to start doing for ourselves, not
or make it inconvenient for those in power to continue to do what they do. I mean, that has been the motive of the civil rights movement, to make it inconvenient for business as usual to be conducted.
Well, Salim, I must kind of disagree with you on that last statement that you made, because the civil rights movement didn't offer very much defense against the things that were being done to us, other than us getting hurt physically more.
Moral suasion was their motive. It was their surmise that if you try to persuade people according to the morality of Christian theology and also the Constitution, the constitutional provisions, that those particular notions were enough to provide for justice for black people.
Okay, Salim, granted, the Constitution did play a part, but given the fact that the people now, that the governments now, those, let me say who's in power, whoever is in power, black, white, Obama, Reagan, whoever, they have devised ways to skirt around the Constitution to continue to do and to hold us in check and in place, just like they always did. Very little change. Let me say this before I go. This is very important. To me, it is anyway. I read somewhere the other day that scientists have come up with a way to clone stem cells. Now they don't have to argue the point about using live stem cells from an actual body, and it can have very, very significant importance in the curing of some diseases and especially some neurological diseases and some other diseases too. But that's a very, very, very important thing. Obama said it himself in one of those speeches he gave right after his election, that they had made great strides in breaking down the human genome. We don't realize it, but these people are working on making a human being without the aid of a human cell. Not just the cloning. They ain't trying to clone. They can clone. They cloned Dolly a long time ago. They've been able to do that. But they are trying
Dolly
to
Dolly was a sheep.
Yeah, it was a sheep. So
the human genome is exceedingly more complicated than that.
It is, Salim, but I'll be willing to bet you that they have cloned a human that probably lived for a short period of time. I mean, I don't put nothing past, but I'm going to say this as I go. The ones that we're dealing with now, these people, I agree with James 100% in all that he said, because these, all except this, these people that we are dealing with now, like Scobie said, these good white people, where are they? Salim, honest to goodness, white people are not dumb. They know that they see these things happening to us. They see them redlining. They see them making bogus loans. They see them incarcerating us while they let their little white people see that, man. You can't tell me that they don't see it like we do.
But look, Will. The media has justified that in their eyes. They don't see it in the same frame of injustice that we do, in the same context that we do. They are convinced that the reason why these inordinate we have these inordinate miseries is because we have behavior deficits. That's the way they see it. That's the way the media frames it for them. It's a media frame, man, and we have to understand that.
Salim, do you really believe it's a breathing, live, thinking white person over the age of 16 that really believes that?
Yes, I do. I believe there are many who do. I believe there are many black people who believe it. As well.
You know what? I don't think that black people believe it. I think what it is about black people are really, we are afraid to offend those who are in power, be they black or white. We are, but primarily black people, because they are the ones who are holding the power. White people now, because they're the ones who are holding the power. But what is wrong with the black man and woman is that we are afraid to offend the white structure here now. And if we weren't afraid to offend these white people, we wouldn't take what we are taking. Okay, then let's say that some of them don't know to the degree that these things that society is affecting us in the black community. Let's say that they don't, but we in the black community do. And the only way that we're going to ever free ourselves is two ways. The only way we're going to free ourselves is to physically fight with these people, or to separate with them from them some kind of way. Now,
physically fight. Will, does that mean?
You're right.
We have no armament equivalency with.
I know that, right? That's why I said separate. Let me explain this, and I'm gone.
Okay.
And when I say separate, this is what I mean. We got to separate spiritually.
How can we do that, man? How can we do that, brother? We were nurtured. We were nurtured by this society, by European-based American society. We were nurtured in this. Our children grew up looking at American cartoons, and we read European-based American literature. Also seasoned with African American insights, but essentially that's how we were socialized. How can you expect us to completely separate ourselves from that kind of socialization process?
The way that we're going to have to do it is listen to some of the things like Elijah Muhammad said. We got to listen to somebody other than this stuff that we are getting in the book.
Where do we listen to that at? I mean, where is that broadcast?
That bookstore that you named over there, Underground Books over there.
Frontline bookstore.
Frontline,
5206 South Harper.
Yeah.
A great bookstore.
Right. And then Dr. Umar Johnson.
Yes, sir. So we got to go out. We have to go out of our way, essentially, to educate ourselves in this way that you're talking about.
We must do it, Salim.
All right, man. I hear you, brother.
All right, my brother.
Thank you, Will.
All right.
Appreciate it, brother. All right. Let's go to Shelby. Hey, Shelby. How you doing?
Hey, Brother Salim, I'm doing good, man. Thank you for your show.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother, for calling.
Hey, Brother Salim, man, I haven't called for a long time, but I do get a lot out of your show. And is it just me, or you haven't had a lot of sisters call tonight, huh?
No, you're right, man. We haven't had a lot of sisters. Sometimes as many sisters as mostly sisters, but tonight there aren't that many. You're right. Sisters, if you're out there, call in, help.
Yeah, call in. Hey,
yeah.
Put him in the front of the line.
Yes,
listen,
sir.
Man, I haven't heard Sister Pam, Sister Sarah.
Right. That's right.
And all the usuals.
Yes,
hey,
sir.
but Brother Salim, I want to thank you for your show, because one of the things that I wanted to say was our collective wisdom is better than us separated. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean.
And and one of the things that you do many things, but I got to tell you honestly, I really, one of the things that you do, you create an environment that allow people to bring everything to the table.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
man. You do allow that, and even though I may disagree vehemently with some of the callers, that's not the point. No, that's not the point. The point is that you create an environment that brings us all to the table, and we have an honest, frank, and fruitful discussion.
Yes, sir.
That's one of the things that your program allows you to do, and man, you do. Now, you did mention about Project
Coast.
What is Project Coast? Now, I read upon it. Now, I thought you should have mentioned that to Brother Simbini and not Brother Dwight.
I did mention it to Simbini. I did mention it to him.
Okay, very good. Because when I read upon, I was reading a book called The Rollback of South Africa's Chemical and Biological Warfare Program.
Yes, sir. Who's the author of that?
I don't know right at the moment, but people can look it up. It may be, I don't know, but could you agree that one of the things that they were trying to do, that there were these South African scientists that they wanted to create, in their own words, they put in quotes, some sort of black bomb?
Yes, sir, I do.
That would affect black people adversely and would have very little or no impact upon white people.
Yeah, absolutely right. Ethnic weapons.
And not only did they wanted to use this bomb in South Africa, but they wanted to use it outside of South Africa as well.
That's right. You're right, man.
And there's a lot of things that they talk about, but I'm only hitting the critical points, Brother Salim, so our people can look this up. They wanted to put some sort of chemical in the water system.
That was one of their proposals. Absolutely, yes, sir.
So that it could be a contraceptive to black people and not to white people.
Yep. That's
one of the things that they said in here. So I don't want to take a long time, Brother Salim. I didn't call in a while, but I just wanted to say that I appreciate your show.
That's a very good point, man, because that is all a part of Project Coast. That's a part of the methodology that they propose.
And they talk about exploding some sort of a bomb over a city where it would adversely affect black people and have no effect on white people. Hey, Brother Salim, I heard you a few weeks ago speaking on Matt McGill's show with Brother Umar Johnson.
Yes, indeed.
Now you know one thing that I want to put a clarification on, Brother Salim, is that Brother Umar Johnson seems to imply that Du Bois was the creator of this talented tent.
Yes.
In the conversation that you had with him, he brings up Du Bois' names as a reference with respect to the talented tent. Now, I want to say, Brother Salim, that there's a book called Righteous Discontent by Higginbottom. Evelyn Higginbottom. You familiar with the Righteous Discontent?
I'm not familiar with the book, but I'm familiar with the author.
Yeah, and what she said in the book, that the talented tent was coined by Dr. Henry Morehouse. And Du Bois picked up on the term and made the term popular later. But the person who coined the phrase, the talented tent, is Dr. Henry Morehouse. That's that college in Atlanta. You know Morehouse College?
Yes, sir.
That's named after Dr. Morehouse.
Yes.
So he's the originator of that term, the talented tent.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be listening to your show, Brother Salim, and I'll be listening to you on Monday. And I'll call back next week, man.
All right, Shelby. Thanks for the call, my brother.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you,
Have a
man.
nice evening, man. I appreciate
All right.
it. Hotep, man. Hotep.
Hotep. We will be right back. And we're back. Salim MuWakkil here on the Talk of Chicago. 1690 WVON. Make sure you stay tuned for Brother Linnell Harris after I am finished this evening. Lifestyle coach and inspirational leader. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to go back to the phones here. Again, I want to say that Frontline Bookstore at 5206 South Harper is once again outside of all of this construction that was going on and this dust that was obscuring the premises. It's open, ready for patronage, and has a lot of excellent items for purchase. So check it out. Let's go back to the phones, and it is Brother Simbini. Hey, my brother, how are you?
Salim MuWakkil.
Yes, indeed.
I would like to admonish the gentleman to quit calling my name on the air while I was waiting to get on my former girlfriend. She's my former girlfriend. She said, these guys are calling your name more than I ever did. And she's my former girlfriend.
Check that out.
Now, come on, brothers. I invited you all to the discussion club meeting today in honor of Malcolm X and left my number on the air. We could have discussed all kind of things, and, brothers, what's going on? Salim, I was on the 79th Street bus today, and around Ashland, I saw a hefty sister that maybe the stylist has made the songs for. You're a big girl now. She was running out of a shop. And
no more daddy's little girl, right?
You want me to sing it for you?
No, that's all right, brother.
Okay, I would, but I don't want to show off.
Yes, sir.
She was hotly followed by what I assume was a Korean. He was chasing her. I guess she might have did what JJ on Good Times. He said he never stole. He just found things. I guess she found something. Well, he ran directly into one of those green poles. I mean,
he ran into it?
He ran straight into it.
Wow.
This sister did a deaf Walter Payton, Barry Sanders move and maneuvered her way around it.
And she was big. She was a big sister, too.
And this guy ran. Now, I don't know what he would have done had he caught her. And I pointed it out to a lot of people on the bus, one of whom was a 40-year-old brother who told me he never had a fight. And he said he just walks away.
How do you know he was 40?
He told me.
Okay.
And he also gave accolades to the former mayor, that he did a good job. I just asked him. In the past, I would have probably criticized him, but I don't do that anymore. I just asked him how long he's been in the city. He said
mellow.
7.
You're a mellow brother.
Yes. I make adjustments, Salim, and to that end, I got a theory that I'm going to propose to you right quick.
Okay.
According to Michael Bradley in the Iceman Inheritance, he claimed that superiority and inferiority changes places from time to time over the evolutionary march in time. He said it's done it before, and it'll do it again. If that be true, there's room left in my mind because I still think that all Europeans are evil and racist by nature, Salim. I still think that. I can't prove it. I still think that. But there's still enough room left.
Well, you think there's a genetic propensity for that?
Yes, I strongly believe and think what Bobby Wright said in his book, The Psychopathic Racial Personality, that they have a psychopathic racial personality that is deeply embedded in their racial past. And he boldly said it's only 3 things you can do with a psychopath: incarcerate, medicate, exterminate. Now, if you ask me to prove it, I can give you some evidence that I feel is evidence. It may not be evidence. Again, I could be wrong, but there's enough room left in the courtroom of my mind that may, over the evolutionary period of time, change places where another group is evil and racist by nature and the Europeans aren't.
What about the notion? Have you considered that the idea of being evil by nature is itself something that is primitive, and that that nothing is evil inherently, that it is always mediated by environmental contingencies?
Yes, and that goes to my theory now that the trading of places is, if it should happen, I postulate that it will be because of environment, diet, and evolution that it's possible for it to happen. I going to blame you and the black, that's what I'm calling him, not the white, the black, for the Bulls' loss last week. Because I was on the phone talking to you, and the brother was trying to call me while I was talking to you. And I didn't want to get into the debate that he and I have been having, but you had kind of led me into it, and I didn't want to disrespect you. So I was trying to use my clairvoyant and creative, interpersonal, futuristic powers to will the Bulls to victory. And you and the black, I'm going to blame both of you brothers.
We stopped you from doing that.
Stopped me from doing it. And then I got off the phone, and the black called me, and we talked for an hour. Well, rather, he talked 59 minutes, and I talked a minute. And he kept trying to convince. He said, well, brother, you got my number, and I'll see you on there. We'll argue. I said, no, we're not going to argue on the air. I said, I invited you to come to I'm in Cincinnati. You know how to get on a bus and a plane. So I said, I'm not going to argue with you. I was just making an observation. I could be wrong. Time will tell. But I do know this, Salim. I do know this. You have a very good program, and I am going to maneuver my way to convince you to sit in on one of our discussion club meetings in the future.
Well,
because
hey,
I want to
I'm not averse to that, man. That sounds very promising to me.
Because I want to discuss this further. And again, brothers, my former girlfriend, Salim.
Yes.
If you can get the current edition of the not the Citizen, the Bulletin, and the Crusader.
Okay.
It misspells my name. It's called me Simbenda, but it has a little article about the 79th Street Indoor Mall. I was there as a vendor.
Oh, okay.
And it also has an article about victimization. Make some points about
that's the Citizen. The Citizen.
That's the
and
Crusader.
Crusader and okay.
And the Bulletin.
All right, man. Thank you, Simbini. Thank you, brother. The Crusader and the let's go to Star. Hey, Star, how are you, my brother? Star, are you there? Star.
Hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Salam alaikum, brother.
Walaikum salam, my sister. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
I'm glad to hear a
so
feminine voice. Yes, indeed.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for taking my call.
Yes,
I had a few things that I wanted to say. First, I just want to give my condolences sincerely to the Shabazz family for their great, great loss, and for all of our losses, because we never know what that brother could have become.
Absolutely.
Only God knows. So, the brother that called you from Detroit that was talking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I take offense to him for the things that he said, because seemingly he started off speaking very well of the minister who has been working in this work for 58 years of his life.
That's correct.
And I don't know that brother, but I do know this about Minister Farrakhan, who I've been studying for over 20 years, that Minister Farrakhan, the properties of the Nation of Islam, and its public record, they're not in the minister's name. They're in the members of the Nation of Islam. And whoever leads the nation, they stay in that house that's on in Hyde Park. Also know this, that during the Million Man March, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, like no other leader before him or since him, has full disclosure of the monies gained and spent during the Million Man March. Nor do we as black people ask Caucasians for full disclosure of the things that they do with our tax dollars.
That's right.
I also like to say this, that Noah preached 150 years. I'm not sure how long that brother has been preaching, but I know that Minister Farrakhan has been preaching for 58 years of his life, of his 80-year life. And I also know that Minister Farrakhan, God willing, will be married to his beautiful wife for 60 years.
Amazing. Yes.
So I don't know what kind of testimony that brother has and how many people he's raised from the grave or from the dead state of existence. But I do know that when I heard the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I was at Alabama State University back in 1991, he inspired me to treasure myself, to value myself, not to just give myself to any man.
Yes,
so I'm not sure what that brother has inspired women to do or how many women he has uninspired to treasure themselves. But I do know what the minister has done for me. And I heard on Matt McGill this week, somebody said that when the minister dies, the nation is going to die. Well, I have a son, and I'm telling you, I put the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad into my son. So the minister will never die. Even though his physical body will go back to the earth just like the rest of us, he'll never die because there are hundreds of thousands of us that believe in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Go ahead, sister.
And then lastly, I want to say, you said something, you gave like a rundown, but you left out a piece of the story regarding Malcolm X's daughter and the assassination attempt of her and her, I believe he was her boyfriend at the time, some Caucasian guy she was dating. You left out the fact that the minister put on a fundraiser for her to get out of jail.
He did.
Yes, he did. The minister has done many things that he does. He's not braggadocious. He's a very humble man. And he's a very giving man. And I think that if we took just a few pages from his books, not even chapters, we can all better our lives and better our communities. And if you ever read the Holy Quran, not you, but the brother that I'm referring to and the rest of your listeners, the duty of the messenger of God is to deliver a clear and concise message. It's up to us to take the ball and run.
Go ahead. All right, my sister. Thank you for that. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you for taking my call.
All right. Thank you. All right. Let's go to Brother West. Hey, my brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Hey, Salim. Alaikum salam, brother. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. How are you doing?
Man, I ain't been calling, man. I've been going through some serious stuff at the house, man. God revealed me.
Well, I know it was serious if you were doing it, my brother.
Yeah, man. It's some serious. I mean, I've been going through some serious stuff, man, about with this so-called woman I was with for 13 years, man. But look here, man. James is right, man. They spraying them chemtrails and they spray barium and aluminum. And they just the chemicals they spray and do all kind of things. It affect the weather. It affect the personalities, like you say, especially for black people. It affect personality, really all people, man. That's why people are so mean and angry and doing that.
Yeah. I've heard some speculation about that it has some behavioral effects as well. Yeah.
So, man, and another thing, man, about this economic plan, man, when the minister got, that's good, man. And what's gonna have to happen is the people that really want to do this, we gonna have to do it, man. We have to go ahead and do it. The people that really want to do it, all this, the naysayers and the doubters that's trying to find something wrong with it, they just have to be left out in the cold, man. I'm serious, man.
All right, I got you, Brother West. Thank you, man. Appreciate it, brother. Yeah. That's what I hear increasingly from folks, that those who are with it get with it. Those who ain't, so be it. Back to the phones. Hey, Sean, how you doing?
Hey, Brother Salim, how you doing?
I'm good.
Could you speak about Fukushima? Have you learned anything new? That's all I want to know.
Fukushima?
Yes, sir.
I haven't heard anything lately, except there's been some increasing numbers of items that have drifted over into the West Coast. In fact, one boat that had some organisms embedded that made it to the West Coast, that were from Japan, that were, not indigenous to the regions where they wound up, but now they've established themselves as invasive organisms in that particular area.
Okay. Well, keep your eyes and ears open, brother. If you hear something that needs to be put out to the people, put it out, because I listen to you a lot.
All
right.
right.
I enjoy the wisdom, but I don't call in often.
Well, I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate you calling in, too, and letting us know about that.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Thank you, man. Brother Sean. All right. Let's go to Andre. Hey, Andre, how you doing, my brother? Andre, are you there?
How you doing, brother?
I'm good.
Good, good. I also like to land back on what my sister just said about that brother from Detroit. You know, to ask, you know, to see our real estate portfolio and our Dun & Bradstreet and all the other things that they want to see. But he appeared to be an intelligent brother, but he wouldn't even take the first advice. We'll go and check out the Internet and see the independent audit that we asked for an outside accounting agency to come in to check out the what happened in the Million Man March.
Yeah, which, I think that's a legitimate point, right? If he is that concerned, he would go out of his way to check that out. Yes, sir.
At least check what's there to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I don't know any organization that reveals every intricate detail of their financial records unless they are being subpoenaed.
Mm-hmm.
And since we're not being subpoenaed, I don't think it is our job to give out every intricate detail of our financial records to the public because we are a not-for-profit organization.
Yes, sir.
But however, if you really want to come check us out, why don't you come check out one of our meetings and see who we are and what we're all about?
Yes.
But to sit there and throw stones like Minister Farrakhan is not worthy to be trusted. He's never been arrested a day in his life, and he's 80.
Yes, no doubt about it, brother. I mean, I think you're right. I think Brother John understands that, and he will correct that oversight. I'm sure after he hears these critiques.
Who's just reached 80 years of age.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Absolutely amazing. Let me go to this last caller before we finish up. Thank you, brother.
Brother. Have a good one.
All right, thank you, Brother Earl. Yes, sir.
Hey,
man. How you doing?
Let me quickly jump in. How you be?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. What I was getting ready to say was I wanted to give you a little accolade here for trying to deal with us people when we're in an emotional state, and and sometimes when you apply logic, we're in our little bubble there, and we're not going to necessarily accept where you're trying to take us to.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate you trying, because the reason why I appreciate what you're trying to do is because those of us who are listening on the radio, we may be able to evaluate and apply that when it concerns us.
Yes, sir.
When we're in that mode, when we're in that defensive mode, or when we're in that denial state, it's hard to see the wisdom that you're trying to bring. But I appreciate what you've done tonight. On several occasions, you've